What'd you do if your entire town was sinking? Residents in some U.S. coastal communities now asking themselves that very question. The main culprit, according to scientists, rising sea levels brought on by climate change. Government scientists expect sea levels to rise just as much in the next 30 years as they did in all of the last century. This map shows how much sea levels changed between 1993 and 2020 in some ocean basins. The sea level has risen as much as 8 inches in some of them. That's according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. As part of Earth Week coverage, NBC News Now anchor Aaron Gilchrist visited one community at extreme risk.
The Chesapeake Bay has provided a living for folks here for 200 years or so, and now it's the Chesapeake Bay that's threatening to take us away from here.
Welcome to Tangier Island, home to just under 400 people, a working-class town of fishermen and crabbers. Once an oasis teeming with farmland, now the small Virginia town in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay is sinking. James Eskridge is the mayor of Tangier. He believes erosion is the primary threat, putting his community in danger.
Our main concern is the erosion because it's taking place at such a rapid rate. I mean, I know you hear about sea level rise, and we'll deal with that later.
This creek has gotten wider over time. You can see it on the satellite imagery.
Marine biologist Dave Schulte has been studying the environmental decline of this island for years. He says erosion is a problem, but rising sea levels because of climate change is what's putting Tangier underwater.
Because of sea level rise, the water comes up. It's just going to be more and more difficult for them to hang on. They know that they're on borrowed time.
The clock is ticking for Tangier. The island is only about a third of the size it used to be, and Schulte believes that in another 30 years, people won't be able to live here. Schulte and his son recently published a study in the peer-reviewed journal Frontiers in Climate. Examining satellite imagery taken over time, they predict Tangier will be unlivable by 2051.
You see the houses over there is raised. The front steps are raised, and there's standing water underneath. That means the water table has risen high enough to turn this all into wetlands.
And that's the water that's coming up through the ground?
Yes.
That's sea level rise in action.
Sea level rise in action, yes. Not erosion.
Yeah.
Other parts of the country are facing similar concerns. NOAA says sea level rise is accelerating, and U.S. coasts could see another foot of water by 2050. Miami, Charleston, and New York City are all in danger. So are places along the Gulf Coast and in California and Alaska. Some big cities will be able to weather the coming storm. But with no federal or state dollars earmarked in the near future, Schulte believes Tangier can't survive.
The school right now is up on stilts. It was on land at one point, but they had to raise it because now that whole area is marsh.
Schulte and his son predict it will take $150 million to relocate the town and as much as $350 million to save the island.
That's where we disagree. I believe it could be maybe, 15 million, something like that. 20 at the most.
The Army Corps of Engineers installed a jetty on the western side of the island a few years ago, protecting it from storms. The mayor wants another. And so you think if you could build a jetty here...
Yep. That would stop the wave action from a nor'easter coming into the harbor.
But it wouldn't stop the water from rising, and without major action to shore up America's shorelines, over time, some land will simply disappear.
Climate change is here. Sea level rise is directly impacting American citizens, and we're going to have to decide as a people what we're going to do about it.
Now, we reached out to the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation, but never received a response to our questions about saving Tangier. The Army Corps of Engineers told us it's asking for funding to study whether it's in the national interest to do a risk management and restoration project in Tangier. To date, though, Tyler, the Corps says no one has been identified to share the costs.
Aaron Gilchrist, thank you very much.